I remember when I was 12, my parents and I, we took a tour at the Walt Disney Animation Studio in Orlando, and it was wonderful to actually see an animation studio, but however, it was apparent that the secrets that they have was definitely elusive to the outsider. Because here as a tourist, we were behind a plexiglass, so that plexiglass was pretty much like a solid metaphor for like that veil as mystery. But so flashing forward, I still wanted to learn animation, but just it was impossible at the time, because in order to learn, you would have to go to out-of-state university or a private college or even overseas, and it was virtually impossible for me at the time. Earlier last year or so that I started to take animation courses, and I'm telling you, I have seen so many online animation courses, but there was always still that veil of mystery. Flash forward to this year, I came across AMB's YouTube channel, AMB Real Animators Training, and I was blown away. I just couldn't believe, the knowledge that he was putting out there, the lectures that he was doing. It just pretty much ripped that veil of mystery off the face of the earth. And the thing that really sets his archive, his online lectures and stuff apart from everyone else is the basics. That's the one thing that a lot of the books, a lot of the online animation stuff lack, was the extreme basics, And when I started on that archive, I started understanding the spacing, the timing, the arcs, the slow in, the slow out. And with each exercise, it builds up on each other. And as a result, I start seeing, the arcs. I start understanding and timing things in my head. And it was just so fascinating. And because of that, it just helped revive, my lifelong desire of learning animation. And it just made me so happy that I'm able to pursue and to dream of becoming an animator. So thank you.
So, are you going to join the library?
Hello and welcome once again to another edition of AMB Animation Live Stream. Alright, so this stream is going to be very much about my awesome YouTube audience. It's going to be an ask and ye shall receive stream, so you guys ask me your questions and I will answer them as best I can. But we need to have an ongoing subject to keep the stream less about my handsome face and more about my amazing drawings. So we need to pick, there are 8 of you in the audience right now, so you get first dibs. Pick a character that you would like to see me Google and animate, and I will do that for you. So I will Google the character and I will animate it. I'm going to say a few hellos, and then I'm going to read a message that I received from somebody who is asking for some help. It's a good message, one that I can answer, and one that I think will benefit all of you listening in. So just again, I'm going to have to repeat this as people are joining the stream. Name a character. I will Google that character. I will then attempt to animate that character doing something like a head turn or something that we can manage within the duration of the live stream. Okay, so pick that character while I do all the talking and we determine that, okay? So we've got Cameron Allen Davidson Black. How are you? Silver Sun. Red Fox, good to see you, my man. We have got people talking about what they're up to. Silver Sun says he's finished the work on his project and was now providing feedback on someone's horror script. It's good. It's good to get involved in other people's things. Renata, hello. How are you? So everybody is continuing to go on with their projects. BC Wednesdale, Happy New Year. I might stay here for an hour. Okay, well, if you're going to stay here for an hour, then suggest a character for me to Google and animate for you. If I get no suggestions from the current audience after I've read and answered this question, then I will move on and pick one myself. So, okay. I have got a message here sent to me, and I'm going to read it. And the person who sent it to me wishes to remain anonymous, so I'm going to respect that. They don't want me to mention their name or anything about them, but they've got a very good question, and I'm going to read it out, and I'm going to answer it as best as I can. And as I'm reading it out, I'm going to keep reminding people, suggest a character, I will Google it and animate it. So, because I need some suggestions, people. Okay, so I've got this question, and it says, I would like to know about you through your experiences. How could I disclose my project, and how could I receive donations for it? I have some ideas that I'm already planning, but I want to take the opportunity to know if you have any advice on this. So, Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat is not really a 2D. Maybe there's a 2D animation character of him. I don't know. Maybe we can animate him, but that doesn't really inspire me. But thank you, Roshan, for the suggestion. Good for you. I appreciate that. So this person is wanting to create a project, and they're wanting to receive money, possible crowdfunding for their project, and they're asking my opinion on how to go about doing that. I'm planning to share videos of me drawing my characters while I approached my project's themes. I also thought about making a series of animatics from my scripts that I'll publish on a blog. In addition, I thought of using Patreon as a form of receiving donations or any other platform. These are all ideas I'm doing, but still I'm curious to know your opinion. After all, I believe it's good to learn through good examples, especially through people who have the same passion to bring their ideas to life. Okay, so okay, we got 2 suggestions on characters. Keep those suggestions of characters coming in. So in a nutshell, this person has messaged me asking me how would I go about raising money for a project. And of course, you all know I'm doing that. I've attempted to do that before with Little Red, which I'm quite comfortable to say it didn't work out. And that's actually a good thing. And I'll explain why. And I'm doing it with Groundhopper. I'm doing it with my other project that I've got going. In fact, I've got a whole host of material that has accumulated from these projects that I'm gonna have to scan in and make possible crowdfunder rewards for. But I'll talk about that in a minute. The main thing is I am aware that I command some kind of authority on animation to certain people. You buy into my programs, you follow me, you trust me, you take my advice, and you respect me. And I really am very thankful for that, and I really appreciate that. Really, I do. So therefore, I am not going to abuse that trust, and I'm not going to abuse that faith that you have in me by pretending that I have the answer to things that I don't. All right? I know a lot about technical craftsmanship and artistry of hand-drawn animation, and that's my strength, and that's what I share. I've worked for 20 years in the animation industry when it mattered, when when hand-drawn animation was around, when people drew storyboards and cared about the quality of the drawings and not about just putting in 3D models in a storyboard and rotating the camera to your angle and just scribbling in a little character. That's when I quit the industry, by the way, because that's not what I want to be involved in. That's not what I'm about. Um, so I've worked as an animation director, as you know. I've worked as an animator, a lead animator, a head of story, a storyboard artist, a project designer, a character designer. I've done all of this stuff over my 20 years in the animation industry, and I share that to you with command and authority because I've done it. I lead by example. What I have not done is successfully released a project yet, right, of my own and attained the funds to get it done, right? So I could very easily go on and say what I'm going to say without giving that little intro and pretend that I'm this big superb guy who's done all these things and has all the answers, which we all know deep down inside, even if you're the best, firmest believer in me, is all bullshit. Nobody has all the answers, especially about these things. Sometimes even when mega millions are put into a project and they think it's going to be an absolute winner, it tanks, all right? Nobody knows about these things. So the advice that I'm going to give this person is my opinions and my feelings of the way I'm going to go about doing it, which is what they asked for. But I'm going to be very careful to say that the advice is coming from somebody who is doing the same thing as this person. We're in the same boat. I may have all this expertise and industry experience behind me, but that's all been wiped out. And this is a good thing, right? Because now we live in a world where everybody has a chance on the internet to make something. I've got some good suggestions. I'm liking Elonwy from Black Cauldron. Everybody has a chance to make something happen on the internet. All right? We've all got a chance. Even the people, even the monkeys playing with AI have a chance to make mega bucks and connect with an audience and express themselves. And that is wonderful. That opportunity is not so out of the way. Does it make it easy? Yes, in some ways. Does it make it harder? Absolutely. Now, how can something be easier and harder at the same time? The easier side of it is you don't have to impress a middleman anymore. You don't have to go out to somebody and get your project greenlit by anybody anymore. You can launch a crowdfunder, you can start a YouTube channel, and you can connect with the right people, get your right audience, and there you are. There's your funds, there's your capital. What money essentially is it's not a number, it's not some kind of green piece of paper or some, ethereal number that we look at in our digital bank accounts. It is simply a measure of the service that you are providing to somebody. In my case, the service I am providing is my expertise of my animation, and people trust in that and they want to see that. In the case of people making projects, the service provided is people have resonated with the idea, people have resonated with the project, and therefore they will give money because they love it and they want to see more. It is an exchange. We really like what you're doing. It is a lot of people, artists in general, just somebody give me the money so I can just keep getting off on enjoying my life and drawing the way I want to draw. That's a beautiful idea, but you've got to provide service. You've got to provide some kind of value to people besides yourself, the value of, but I love drawing. Do what you love, and the money will follow. Yes and no. All right, you can love something, but it's got to be of service. You've got to give in order to receive, right? And so we have to understand that why is it's easier than ever for you to give and for you to receive, but it's also harder because it's easier. The market is saturated now. You know, everything is in front of people. People are just being thrown everything left, right, and center. That you can be thrown something of absolute class and quality, and people don't recognize it today. They're just like, I don't know what to choose. I've seen that. It's great, but I want to see something else now. And there's so much choice, and the majority of that choice is all garbage. With Netflix and Disney Plus, you know, there's only probably about 1 2 to 10%. 10% is generous of good stuff on streaming media. But most of the people who see any of that say, I've seen it, but I want to see something else now. That's the mentality. There's just too much choice, and too much choice makes it very hard for you to stand out. So there's the good side. You've got the opportunity, you've got the tools. Even if you can't draw, you can't animate, you can use AI, and you can very soon out Pixar if you like that glossy CG look, right? If you love to draw and you like to do it all by hand, you can carry on doing that just like I do, and you can still share it with an audience. Amazing, fantastic. By the way, I've only got suggestions of characters from 2 people. Please keep suggesting characters for me to draw and animate in the chat while I'm answering this question, right? I'm answering this question to give you guys time. If you want to see me Google a character and animate it later on, type it in the chat, right? So ultimately, we've got all this opportunity, but the double-edged sword is it's really hard to stand out in a congested, oversaturated market. And that's why I recommend to this person who's wrote me this message to read the book Blue Ocean Strategy. You've got to learn a bit about business if you want to understand what the system in which you are operating in, right? You're all operating in a system. Whether you're an artist or whatever, you're operating in a system. So you've got to understand that in a blue ocean strategy is basically, very briefly, it's a book that says the ocean is red with blood from all the big fish chomping up all the little fish, right? You can call that the algorithm, you can call it whatever you want, but it's red with the blood of all the little fish who are just trying to do something and they're getting chomped up by the big fish. What you need to do is you need to create your own economy. You need to not fight. Don't go up against the big fish. Don't even pay attention. Do not compete. Find your own blue, fresh, clean space in the ocean, and then cater to that, right? So that's essentially what that book is. But on top of that, in question, direct answer to how would I go about crowdfunding, I'm going to share with you what I've been doing, right? With Little Red, I tried to sell that what worked for me with real animator training. Okay, I'm this animation expert. I've got a YouTube channel. I've done Facebook ads. I've done YouTube ads. I've done all these kind of things. But funnily enough, when I put ads and when I don't put ads, people still watch my YouTube content and they like it and they buy it. And they go to my website and they buy my courses. They want to learn from me. They respect me. And I thought that's great. Blue ocean strategy. I've found my market. I've found people who resonate with me, people who I can be of service to. That's very important. Not about who I can get money from, not about who I can just, if I draw what I want to draw, if you build it, they will come and they'll just give me money. That's a wrong mentality. People who I can be of service to, people who I care about And because if you don't care, the average person has got a subconscious bullshit radar. And if they think that you don't care about them, if you don't genuinely care about them, they'll know, right? So there has to be some sense of real, genuine, honest, willing to give and serve. And that's what I've dedicated myself to do with real animator training. And it's why it works. That's why it works. People are willing to buy into my course because they believe in me and they know that I believe in what I do and I believe in them. So I figured, hey, let me just make Little Red that way. I won't do a crowdfunder. I won't go on Kickstarter. I won't go on GoFundMe. I'll create this awesome project and then I will put it on YouTube, and people will love it because it looks so good, and they'll want to see me finish it, and they'll give me money, and I'll finish it, and they'll get the project, and I'll get to make the project. Isn't that wonderful? Didn't work. Why? Simply because that's not my audience. My audience are interested in learning how to do it from me. My YouTube audience, my community, my blue ocean. They're interested in learning how to draw better, how to animate better, how to design characters, perhaps how to create projects. They're not necessarily so fired up about, let's see this finished film. You know, they're probably wanting to create their own finished films, right? So and also the amount of people who are going to crowdfund a film, because the donations are going to be less than what the price of a course is, the amount of people who are going to crowdfund a film are going to be need to be a lot more than a greater percentage of people. You have to serve a greater percentage of people who are not necessarily specifically animation nerds, who I cater to, hand-drawn animation nerds. And I'm a nerd, by the way, so please don't take that as a bad thing. I love being my wife doesn't like it when I call myself a nerd, but you've got to be a nerd to be as obsessed about the craft of hand-drawn animation as what I am. So I made a big time mistake with Little Red. Now I could have tried again, but I thought, oh, they'll go to my website, they'll give me donations, and those donations will add up. And the reality is as I spent more, the amount I spent on the advertising, I didn't even make 1/4 back from the donations. Now this absolutely could be seen as a terrible failure, but it isn't. And this is where I'm going to this person, right, who's asked me this question. It made me more determined. You see, I was not passionate about creating the story of Little Red Riding Hood. I wanted to create a test project to try out crowdfunding on my website. And I got the answer. And that's not the way to go. And I rushed it out. I didn't really, I designed the characters in half a day or a day. And I designed the backgrounds in half a day or a day. And just storyboarded it on the fly and animated it on the fly. However good it looks, I'm not going to say it's not good. It was. I'm an experienced professional. It's gonna be good, but I can do so much better, and I'm not that fired up about it to want to see it through. So I think my higher self said, no. You want to make your projects. You're gonna have to make your projects the ones you care about. You're going to have to bring that rabbit to life, and you're going to have to put that in front of the people. You're going to have to put your other project in front of the people, your space project that you're doing. So I kind of said to myself, okay, well, as painful as the failure of Little Red, what do I always say? Failure is merely a step, one of the steps towards success. And this is where I'm leading to this person who's asked me this question. I always give long form answers because, again, I serve my community. Not everybody is going to have the patience to have gone 24 minutes into a live stream listening to me talking, and that's okay. They're going to want to see me draw. But those of you who are still listening, thank you, and you're going to get my experience from you, for you. So the fact of the matter is, right, if you are going to go about designing your own project from scratch and trying to build your audience from it, there are many tools you can use. And these are the ones that I'm going to be exploring: GoFundMe, Indiegogo, Kickstarter. And I never use it. I don't know why. I'm prejudiced against it, and maybe for the wrong reasons. And maybe I'm going to try. I still don't want to use it, but I'm going to say it. Don't know why. It gives me the ick, that feeling. Word Patreon, right? I don't know why. I just hate that website. I don't like. I've always like, build your own website. Why do you need a middleman to take cuts out of your donations? Build your own website and get, you know. But anyway, don't just copy me on that. Many people who are making lots of money through their art are doing it through Patreon. So that's just me, right? Now, all of these are avenues for you to serve people, not avenues for you to make your project and just have people throw money at you. So that's the first bit of mentality that needs to be addressed. And believe me, I can talk about that because that's exactly what Little Red was. I thought, well, I'm going to do this test project and people are going to throw money at me and I'm going to finish it and we're going to push it further and I'm going to start A&B anime. I had good intentions, but my mind was wrong about it, right? You got to remember that service is everything. Now, this is leading on to the main point of what I'm talking about, right? Because you have to understand that when you are building something, it will take time, and it will take a lot of time. You may have the best drawings, you may have the best idea, your thing may look the most amazing, and believe me, I know. Just look at some of my groundhopper animation tests and things that I've done. But your audience is going to be tiny, right? And you have to accept that. You have to, hey Daruji, how are you? You have to accept that your audience is tiny and you're going to build it. Now here's the thing where most people, every one of you, doesn't matter how well you can draw, doesn't matter how, there's so many people, go on the internet, you will see it, and it might make you angry, that can't draw for shit, that are so successful on drawing tutorials and creating their ideas and their projects, but their drawings are the most amateur, weak, garbage stuff, yet they're doing so well for themselves, and good for them. They deserve. They've taken the bull by the horns and they deserve success. Everybody who goes for something deserves success. So I'm not bitching about them. I'm highlighting a point, a misconception that everybody makes about these things, including myself when I first started. If your drawings are great, if you're professional, if you're great, then you're gonna reach the right, your audience is gonna come to you over other people. No, that person is serving people. That's why I'm constantly going back to service. They are providing service. And maybe you might not be able to understand, maybe I might not be able to understand how they're providing service, because when I'm looking at what they're doing, it's not providing service to me. And I'm thinking to myself, this is trash. Why are people listening to this? This person doesn't know anything. But then in turn, somebody would be doing that to me. A lot of people who are getting service from that person would have watched 20 seconds of my live stream, which some of you are really absorbing very, and I'm grateful that you are, very intently. They wouldn't have even made it past 5 seconds. Said, this boring guy, man. Why am I going to listen to him? Right? So the service being provided is premium. And here's why most people fail. It's not that you can't do it. It's not that you'll never be able to do it. It's the pain on the physical plane of existence. Can you withstand the feelings of rejection while you're doing it for a sustained amount of time? Because it's going to be the case. You're going to be pouring your heart and soul into something, and you're going to be building it from scratch, and you're going to be looking for people who you can serve with it. Now, here's why multi-million, billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies, you know where most of their money is spent? Particularly in pharmaceuticals and all these kind of, unsavory things. It's spent in something called R&D. You know what R&D stands for? Research and development. Research and development. They research and then they develop based upon their research. We as artists, myself included, are so in love with our ideas. We want those ideas to work so much. And when they don't, it hurts. Because those ideas are like our children. We've poured so much love into that child, and the audience is not resonating with it. It's been 1 year, it's been 2 years, it's been 5 years, it's been 10 years, and you don't have enough of an audience to make what you wanted to make or what you felt you wanted to make. And this is why most people give up. They say, it ain't gonna happen. I've got to get real, but they ain't getting real, and I'll tell you why. And I'm gonna quit. And I'm so desperate for love and attention that I'm gonna try and parrot what other people are doing. I'm gonna do fan art. I'm gonna do fan art. I'm gonna do stuff. And I've explored all this myself, right? Which is why I can talk about it with confidence. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then people are going to like it, people are going to like it. And while you're starting to play what I call the OnlyFans model, or the webcam, throw them a buck and they'll do whatever for you. While you're doing that, you're not actually focusing on serving people. You're focusing on the hurt, the pain, and you want pain relief through recognition. And this is where the downward spiral from all that upward energy of I'm going to build this beautiful thing, I'm going to build this beautiful thing. But then how long, it's like willpower. I can talk about, I've got a lot of willpower, but willpower is limited, right? Willpower is limited. I don't care how strong you are, how good you are. You can be David Goggins or whoever, but you ain't got that, that willpower will break, and you need something limitless in order to continue that upward spiral. Because the minute you start looking at everybody else, or looking at all of the negatives about, enough people aren't watching my work, I've pumped so many ads into it, I've done this, I've done that, and it's just not happening, you're basically starting to go in the other direction, right? Remember the pendulum. The measure of the swing to the left is the measure of the swing to the right. As the pendulum swings one way, right, you know that pendulum is going to swing the other way. So if the pendulum's swinging towards the negative, eventually it's going to swing back towards the positive. That's one of the laws of the universe. That is absolutely one of the great laws of the universe, which cannot be. You cannot have one end without the other end. That's the law of polarity, right? But most people do not understand this. So when you're making your project to this person, use your channels, use your Indiegogo, use your Kickstarter, use your Patreon, create your content, but just understand that there is a system that is in place. You have to serve people, and finding those people to serve is the real challenge, not the creation of the content. The creation of the content is your fun. The creation of the content is your passion. And you begin to start despising that content because you're getting no love for it, and you're putting all your love into it, and you're wanting to receive something from it. And that what you're trying to receive from it is because you love it so much you want to put more into it. It's like having a child, but you're trying to force that child to be something it doesn't want to be, right? So as you're making your project, you have to be aware, right? And again, I'm reminding you, I'm talking with great authority and knowledge and sharing, but I'm reminding you, I may have had 20 years in the industry and worked as a director and all this and that, but I've never sold a project. I've never successfully, I've sold courses, I've got audience on YouTube, I sell my, but I've never sold a project, right? I'm in the same boat as you. So I'm just reminding you because I've been talking with all this command and authority, but I'm just reminding you because again, my job is to serve you as best I can, not to deceive you, right? We're in the same boat. You respect my opinion, so I'm sharing my opinion with you, right? So the fact of the matter is, as you embark on this journey, it's a mission. You have set yourself a mission. This is why I love an activity like the martial arts. Martial arts for me teaches you how to break bricks with your hands, something you believe you'll never be able to do. You'll strike the brick, it'll hurt you. You don't know. Eventually you're breaking huge, bricks. Start with a little, you're just doing it all like nothing. And then you're getting more and more confident. And then basically you start to learn how to follow your own commands. Like, I'm dieting at the moment, and I know that I don't need to. I can eat certain things and it won't affect my waistline. My wife says to me, "Why are you doing that? It won't affect you." I said, "It's not about that. I know I can have that piece of meat or that ice cream or whatever just for once. It's about I've commanded myself that I'm not going to do it. And it's not about the fat and the what, it's about obeying my own commands." So you have to learn how to obey your own commands. You have to take orders from your higher self. If you say you're going to do something, you have to obey those commands. And when you look at what's happening outside, you can't let that affect you. You keep obeying your commands. You persist. You persist and persist and persist. And sometimes, eventually a way will be open to you. You just have to hang in there and persist. I quit the animation industry. I quit a really good wage. I was earning good money. And then I started this YouTube thing and my website from scratch. And it took me about 2 years of my savings before I saw any kind of returns on it. But I persisted. And people started paying for my courses. People started realizing that my courses were vastly superior to any of the alternatives. And while they seemed to be expensive for the asking price, it was actually much cheaper in the long run for what they got. And they knew it. And they still know it today, and that's why it's still working today, right? Because I persisted and I believed in what I was doing. Now, is it always going to happen the way you want it to happen? Probably not. Probably not, right? I may be putting all my energy into one project, and then suddenly I might do a silly little drawing on a live stream, and people will love that, and they'll want to see that instead. And I can look at it and think to myself, oh, I mean, why are they interested in that? I've put all my energy, but then I'm taking my eye off the ball. Service. If you want money to create your project, you need to provide service. And guess what? If they like the project that they want you to make, and they're asking you, we want to make that one, you'll have to make it. And when you make that, more and more people are going to be fired up about you, and they're going to want to see something else. And eventually, the film The Fifth Element by Luc Besson? Luc Besson, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember having a Screencraft film book or reading it somewhere back when I was young and I was a film nerd. I think he came up with that idea when he was 16 or something like that. And he directed Leon the Professional and all these things, and then when he had the chance, he made his passion project. Tim Burton had the idea of Nightmare Before Christmas for years before it was eventually made. I've spent 40 minutes talking, not a single drawing made. And part of me is thinking, oh, but who's going to want to see my face? You know, plenty of people know. No, but part of me is thinking that, which is, again, you see, my mind is fighting service. Who am I serving? Am I just going to come here and draw some pretty pictures and do what I always do and think, oh, okay, all right? Or am I actually going to serve people with some really valuable information, right? It may get less views, but I'm serving people with valuable information. So in a nutshell, I'm going to sum up what I've said because I've spoke for almost half an hour on this topic, right? And a lot has been said, and you've probably forgotten the points, right? Now you could go back and watch it again, but I'm not going to do that to most of you. I'm going to sum it up, right? So, if you're making a project from scratch and you want to connect with people, raise money, create your project, that's your agenda, that's your mission. I haven't done that as of yet. I've done many things, but that is not what I've done. So that's the first thing, okay? So, opinion coming at you. If you respect my opinion, great, right? But you want to do that, here are the things to consider. Your audience, right? Your project, and who is it for, right? Then you have to go about making it the avenues that you're going to use to get those things. You're going to have social media, right? Which is free. You're going to have Kickstarter. You're going to have Indiegogo. You're going to have Patreon. You're going to have GoFundMe and all these possible things, but you need to have timing. See, the laws of animation are very similar to the laws of this. Timing. You want to just start a Kickstarter from scratch without knowing anything about it and just hope for the best? No, you got to learn a little bit about crowdfunding, right? You got to have something to give, and you have to have people to serve. So you have to be aware that there's so many. You might be just very skilled at drawing, animation, digital art, painting. You might even be good at writing and use AI to do all the art for you, right? Whatever you're doing, you might be great at that. But do you know about marketing? Do you know about selling? Do you know about giving service, providing service? And do you know about timing? Do you know about how to successfully do a crowdfunder? Here's the things you can do. You can go and learn about crowdfunding, watching hours of YouTube content, tropicing through crap people and good people. You can hire on Fiverr.com or Upwork or somewhere like that a crowdfunding manager, a crowdfunding consultant. You can bring in an expert to talk to you about your project. You have to pay money into your development, your own personal development. You can't just put it on social media and say, well, nobody liked it. I knew I wouldn't succeed, you know? So you've got your project and you've got your avenues and you've got your methods of putting it out there. How much do you know about all these things? How much do you know about crowdfunding? How much do you know about marketing? Because you've got your crowdfunder, but now you have to put it in front of people, right? How much do you know about marketing? But then again, all of these sound very like, oh yeah, I'll learn about that, I'll learn about that. But ultimately, who are you serving? Who are you serving? Who are you providing service? Giving and receiving are two ends of the same pole, right? Now, you're serving yourself. There has to be some selfishness. You have to breathe air and be selfish and take in that air in order to give, right? But at the same time, that selfishness cannot be, I want to just create my project and just people should just give me money for it. Your project has to serve somebody, right? That's the essential thing. Audience, avenues, and ultimately patience. Patience and persistence. So to this person, I'm going to finally come to an end to this now, and then we're going to do some drawing, right? To this person who's asked me this question, create your project, carry on doing what you're doing with your project. All your ideas are good. Your Patreon idea is good. Your blog idea is good. Possibly you can do GoFundMe. All of these are possible things to do. But just be aware that your project has to be providing service to a quantity of people who will willfully want to donate in order to see that project come to life. We all give money to a good cause, one that resonates with us. So you have to find a way to resonate with people. You have to find a way. Now, that's not going to be easy. That's probably going to be the hardest part of it. And what makes it the hardest part is not necessarily finding the people. The people will be found, but you have to believe that they will be found, and you have to be very, very patient and very, very persistent about it, because that's where most people give up, right? You create a project, that project looks amazing to you. You look at it, you can't help, your inner being can't help comparing it to stuff that other people are seeing. And you're loving it, but you're not understanding why nobody else is loving it the way you're loving it. You're looking at other stuff and you're saying, but that's so shit. My stuff is so better. I understand, I'm sharing my personal experience. But at the same time, that person's getting all the love and you're not. And you got to be able to take it. You really do. Because there's a lesson to be learned there. Believe me, I've learned it. There's a lesson to be learned there. And that is that you got to be continuing to provide service. You got to be dedicated, and you got to focus on you and focus on the people who you are serving, and not focus on that and focus on what's happening to that in relation to what's happening to you. And that's what makes it hard, because most people want it a lot sooner. They want to receive things when they think they're ready to receive them. I believe in cause and effect, and I believe that when you're truly ready to receive the things, including myself, that you desire in life, only then you will be given to them. Only then you will receive them. You might think you're ready. You might logically believe you're ready. But I truly believe that, there's another power there, that only when that power gets the right message from your subconscious mind, only then you're going to get what you deserve. We're always getting what we deserve. I learned that by constantly looking at other YouTube creators and thinking they're all crap. And I learned, well, okay, they're all crap, but in comparison to me, but they're doing so much better than me on YouTube. That's when I learned the lesson. It's about service, and it's not about the amount of people you're serving. It's about who you're serving, and it's about the way you're serving them, and it's about your story, not his story, I learned this the other day. The word mystery and history. Don't focus on his story or her story. Focus on the mystery, which is you. My story. Right? My story. What is my story? Right? The mystery of misunderstanding of your place on this earth and what you're doing, what you're giving, and why you're doing it, right? So that's my 50-minute answer to a question. Right, we're going to do some drawing. Let's have a look at some of the suggestions in the stream. Okay. We've got Prince Charming from Cinderella. We've got Princess Alonwi Taran, which I'm liking. Robin Hood. Do you have any tips for better appeal when making characters? Because I feel that the main thing that will get your stuff out there to more people. Not necessarily. I mean, please tell me how Adventure Time has appeal, right? Please tell me how that ugly looking Cartoon Network style has appeal. Like, it's, I don't necessarily, appeal is important in terms of technicality, shape, harmony, curves against straights. Maybe I'll talk about that when you see me draw, but that's like, it's that's the wrong attitude in terms of appeal. Well, you've got to be appealing to, I mean, obviously you have to appeal to somebody, but there are so many different things out there, you know. Mrs. Brisby from Secret of Nim, we're getting some great suggestions. Hubie from Pebble and the Penguin, Tramp, Lady and the Tramp, can you animate Milo Thatch? Ooh, Milo Thatch. What about Bolto? We did a Bolto a little while ago. Generator Rex or Stitch from Lido and Stitch. What's Generator Rex? Let me see what that is. I need a new mouse. My right click isn't working. Generator Rex. Okay. I see. Very kind of Ben 10 American anime looking thing. Thank you for that. Princess Diana. Women hate the word nerd. Things. What platform do you use for animation? More importantly, I use hand-drawn animation techniques, all right? Platform is irrelevant, all right? If you're worried about the platform, don't worry. A lot of people worrying about the platforms are crying in their sleep about AI now and wanting to unionize and stop it, but it ain't gonna. You need to learn real animation techniques by drawing by the hand. If you're watching my channel, that's my channel is hand-drawn 2D animation. I can't talk about people who want to do 3D. So don't worry about what platform I'm using. It's irrelevant. Kenai Brother Bear. Look at South Park, especially in the beginning, was not good, but it was really funny and had good storytelling. Exactly. I mean, this goes back to that person of appeal. You know, I've got many reasons why I dislike South Park, but it illustrates exactly what I said. They give no real service to their audience. You're absolutely right, Daydream Dragon. They found that they were serving a small part of the nostalgia crowd, and then they tried to put political agendas in there, and then they pissed off the nostalgia crowd, and they're serving no one now. We're getting all the suggestions from Renata. Derugi is working hard on your project. I can see that Derugi, very persistent, my friend. You know, I can't wait to see till it's finished. You speak to pouring passion into something others won't recognize. Is there such a thing as creating content for yourself? Absolutely. Everything you do is for yourself. Even when you are hating on yourself, it's for yourself. You cannot avoid this. I don't want to go into a deep philosophical thing right now. Maybe we'll talk about that later. We've had a 55-minute chat. That's a great point, Thea 390. But I've done almost an hour of talking with no drawing, so maybe some other time. Thanks for emailing me. I plan to buy the Real Animator Training Master. Awesome, Polka Pal. Fantastic. I'm sure you will. It's always going to be there, and whenever you're ready, you know, we look forward to having you in the library. Brittany Goddard, I've been studying realism, semi-realism. Frodo from The Lord of the Rings would be interesting. I'm a dancer. I realize my love for animation is because my love. Yeah, I'm a martial artist. I love, you know, same thing. Um, King Fu Conan. I have a DVD box set of The Fifth Element. Um, Arthur or Merlin? Merlin is one of my favorite characters. Um, I'm really wanting to do Elonwy actually, though. I'm liking that. I'm interested in your projects. I hope one of them gets made into something more than what it is now. Thank you, Silver Sun. It will. They will. They most. This is the year where I'm pouring a lot into that. Um, thank you, Daydream Dragon. But I appreciate that. But I always like to. As I said, my agenda is to serve my audience and respect my audience and love my audience. Um, and while I know that, see, you can call me a genius with great advice, no better advice has been spoken. I really appreciate that, but I'm not going to abuse that, which is why um, when I speak, I make sure that I'm always clear that, like, okay, I've got all this experience and professionalism in this, and I've lived that, but I'm going to tell you straight if I'm giving you opinion of something that I haven't actually succeeded in myself as well. So therefore, there's no abuse of the respect being given to me. But thank you very much. Um, Zigzag from Thief and the Cobbler. I've done Generator Rex before, yeah. Um, I don't dislike it. It's, you know, it's just not very inspiring to me, so I didn't remember it. I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. Um, oh, Snoops. Oh, Edge Deep, trust you to come up with Snoops. Snoops is one heck of a character. You know what? I might do an animation breakdown of Snoops on another live stream. Thank you, Edge Deep. That's something I really need to study. I need to go back to studying some Milk Cow because I've been doing a lot of technical perspective drawing lately. I haven't drawn any characters, which is why I'm going to be drawing some characters on this stream. I'm designing environments for my project. Gibson Ribson, how are you? Moses, Prince of Egypt, Vampire Hunter D. Love the original 80s version of that. Uncle Scrooge and Milo Thatch. Would love to see a breakdown of Popeye fight scene from the perspective of a martial artist. I'm strung to the finish because I eat my spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I still need to pick. I used to drive my science teacher. I was always thrown out of science class for doing that. Would you ever go back to paper? Of course I would. I still regularly go back to paper. JP, I do all my designs. In fact, when I give away a lot of reward, I'm thinking of, I can't do it with this stuff because this stuff is going to go into crowdfunding. So I've got like all this hand-drawn head turns and walk cycles of the great one from, I was thinking of doing live stream auctions, like where people can like bid and buy them, and I'll send them physically to you signed or something. I was thinking of doing that to raise money for projects as well. But I always draw on paper, and in this day and age, tangible stuff is coming back. I don't know about this, but Chanticleer from Rockadoodle, all these good suggestions, amazing characters. I want to do them all, but Elonwy is still willing for me because the Black Cauldron has always got a soft spot for me. I love the Black Cauldron. However many people, more people want to hate on that film, just makes me want to love it even more. Yeah, good point. Still very good to learn this new stuff. Thank you for your dedication to service. We are making art that is in service of animation, motivation, and belief. Absolutely, we are. Gandalf, I'd love to see you drawing him. Gandalf, yeah, I might do a special stream on Bakshi. I'm going to stay away from the rotoscope stuff at the moment today. But let's do Elonwy, Princess Elonwy, Princess Elonwy. I'm gonna find some Princess Elonwy model sheet. Model sheet. Wow, we did an hour of talking today with no oh, some of Milk Carl's original Princess Elonwy sketches. He did some designs for the Black Cauldron. It's difficult to find Elonwy material to animate, to draw from hers, but I'm gonna have to do it. Okay, I'm just gonna go back to the normal Google search. So there's her head turned this way, there's her head that way. Okay, wow, what a nice drawing. Okay, I've got some material here. Fantastic. Okay, right. We've got some Elonwy. Damn, it was a GIF. Okay, I'll just have to work from that very small version. Bear with me. Bear with me, please, guys. Oh, that's a nice drawing. Okay, let's just see what we can get from this. Okay, I've got something. Yes. Okay, those of you who were patient, can you show how you animate while using model sheet? What are you putting focus on using a character design? Okay, well, I'll do that. I'll talk a little bit about that while I'm doing this. I'm not really using a model sheet. I'm just using I couldn't find a finished model sheet of Elonwy. I'm just using finished images on Google search. But I'll talk a little bit about that, right? We'll talk a little bit about Elonwy's model, and then we'll animate. So first hour of the stream. Awesome, Renata. Right. Let me change my mic. Let me change my screen. And let's do some drawing. Right, so I'm a little bit out of practice on drawing. Drawing characters, because for a fortnight I've just been drawing perspective cities and buildings and things. So I'm going to do a quick warm-up drawing myself. I'm just going to quickly warm up with some random stuff, right? So let me just try and warm up with a Mickey, like a Mickey Mouse face, right? All right, let me do some quick warm-up drawings, right? Let me now do a Donald Duck face, right? I always like to go back to these classic. People were asking me about appeal. These are some of the most appealing characters in the world for me. They're so simple and they really have stood the test of time. So if I can draw these guys, then get my drawing back, because I've just been drawing perspective buildings and things for 2 weeks, designing cities and all that for my project. So I'm really out of practice on drawing characters. Let me now draw a human face. Let me, before I go on to Elonwy, I just want to, you see I drew the eye line but realized the eye line was in the wrong place. So, but it's all okay. A little bit on the young side, not the correct model. Right. So I've drawn my own character more off model than other people's, but you see, there you go. Right, so let's now just do a body, right? So you're watching how I might warm up my drawings. If I'm like, this is exactly like, this is the first kind of character drawing I'm doing in 2 weeks, right? So I'm just, before I begin doing Elonwy or trying anything like that, I'm just loosening up my skills. All right. Getting the old Don Bluth inspired shapes. Wow, I'm finding it in there. Right, last one. Last two actually. Let's do the hero from my latest project. Let's see if I remember him. Right. So just bear with me while I loosen up, because I plan to do something pretty amazing with this Elonwy animation, right? Right, so his chin is there, his jaw is gonna be about like this, his ear, his hair. So here I'm not even using construction, right? Why am I drawing like this? Because I'm getting my hand-eye coordination into gear, being able to get things in the right place without the crutch of construction. Let's now consolidate that. Right, we're going to be starting real soon, but I'm just making sure that I'm really loose. Right, final one. This one's for Silver Sun. Do I even remember him? I haven't drawn him for months, right? But he's the magnum opus, right? All of what I'm doing is gonna be for this guy, right? At some point he will like make himself known. Right. Let's just go out here. Do this. Okay, right, great. Right, we are warmed up. So that is the warm up. So now I'm gonna look at some pictures of Elonwy. And I'm gonna start with this image of Princess Elonwy. So I'm gonna just simply copy this image, but I'm going to build a piece of animation around it, right? So I'm not going to draw it in detail at first. I'm gonna do some animation blocking. So she's got her head in her hands here in this image, right? So that's the silhouette of let's make it a little bit smaller, right? So that's pose 1, right? And pose 2 is I'm gonna have her look up, right, and take her head out of her hands. So her head's probably gonna be more up like this. All right. And she's gonna be looking this way, right? Now I'm gonna look at some more images of her, right? What I can find. Okay, that'll do. So she's gonna then turn her head this way. Right. and gesture with her hands openly like this. Right. So looking at all these various images I've seen of Ellen Wee on the internet, just from this one Google search, I've decided to make a little bit of my own action out of them. And so she's going to turn around and look this way. So I'm going to figure out my poses now. The first pose is going to be a straight up rip, and then the other poses I'm going to have to adjust to make work. So let's look at this, right? So let's look at first the construction of, let me just check my live stream. How is my volume? How is my sound? Thank you, JP. Okay, so we're all getting that working. Okay, that's good. There's no issues with the stream. Got to keep an eye on the stream because I'm not looking at the screen as I'm doing this. I'm looking at Google Image. Right, so Ellen Wee is much like a classic Disney heroine. You saw me drawing the Mickey Mouses and the Donald Ducks earlier, which were like this, right? And then they put the faces on there like that, right? So the way the Disney heroines were drawn was much the same way. They would have a round head, and then the cheek and chin would hang off it, and their eyes would be on the eye line, right? And it would be something like this. Sometimes they would put it all the way at the bottom, right? Some purists like it like that, right? I have my own habits that I've developed of what works for me, the way I like to do it, but the purists did it that way, right? So now we have her head, and she's looking kind of sad, but so I've got her eye line. Right. So she's got these sad looking eyes here, and her nose comes off here and it comes up almost like an anime nose, right? Just a triangle with a little point on it, which is what I love about the old Disney. You know, Glenn Keane, when he switched to CG, he started drawing even Ariel different, and this whole thing of trying to make these realistic looking noses on 2D drawings, it's not my thing. So here the cheek comes off it. Now the chin is not to be seen because her hand is blocking it, but I'm guessing it's doing something like that, right? Then we have the eyebrows, which mimic the shape of the eye, right? So you see this and you see this, how the eyebrow is the same as the eyelid, almost making that. Now her cheeks are pressed up against her eyes, so they've drawn that there like that. Her hairstyle is she's got like these wings, right, which come like this, which we will draw in later, and the top of the head, which comes down and swooping. I've always loved this character, but I've never really drawn her, right? So so now she's got her hand resting in her face. Now this is a very, even though I love the artwork in this film, I'm not a fan of the way they've drawn this hand, because it doesn't really look like it's resting on her face. They've just drawn a generic Bluth milk cow style cup hand, and it's actually floating on her face there. It doesn't really relate. And then we've got a bit of hair in there like that. And the other hand is here like this. Right, there we go. So I'm kind of familiarizing myself with the character as I'm doing this drawing. It's a nice drawing. Look at how this joins up like this and this. the shape harmony. So the person who asked me about appeal, can you see how the cuffs are lining with each other like that, right? Now she's coming up here. She's got her shoulders hunched by the looks of it, because this comes straight down here like this, and this is here like that. Don't really understand that. It's cut off from that point, so I'm gonna, let's bring that down some, and I'm gonna move that more there. All right, let's detail in the hair a bit now, right? So this first drawing is always going to take a little bit longer than the others as I start familiarizing myself with the model. So the person who asked me about drawing from model is you've seen that I haven't really, I know construction, right? But the more experienced you get, the less construction you use, because it's all about shape language. In real animator training, we teach this thing called the secret science of shape simplification. All of this is basically simplified shapes, which then you then fill in. Like Milk Cow was a master because he drew the whole body as a silhouette and then filled in the details afterwards, right? That's the extreme highest level. But most of us section the body off into little shapes and fill inside those shapes, and that's where we get I can't actually see her pupils, but I'm going to put them in there regardless. Right, so that's my first Princess Ailonwi pose. So then we're going to go on to the next pose, right? So I've got an expression of her hair, but I'm going to have to change this. So I'm going to fatten my pen, and I'm going to really kind of make her sit up, right? Got to kind of figure out what I'm doing here. Right, so that hand's gonna maybe do that. This one's gonna come away. So I'm kind of making this pose up, but I will refer to her face and her expression for another one, right? So she's gonna look up here like this. Right? So then here we're gonna have her head. Now I'm gonna use that construction, right, which I told you about. So she doesn't have much of a jaw, right? It's a kind of up angle. The nose is the midline, comes up like this. Very nice design. Can really see the inspiration for Ariel in this 80s Disney look, which I really like. Right, so I'm changing a little bit of the expression. Few lines added here. Right. Like this. I'm really finding my way with this. Okay, right, let's take that. So I'm using what's called pose to pose at the moment. Now I'm gonna get the head out of the way, because normally I like to work with the full body, but because I'm referring to this and I'm trying to do something quick on a live stream, and the head is the only part where I'm kind of referencing now, because of the body I'm kind of going to have to make up. I'm going to just get the model of the head out the way so I can get that body working in a good way, right? So You see how when I was warming up, the reason I was choosing to do those classic Disney characters is Eilonwy, this character here, may well be a humanoid, but the structure and the way she's put together is very, very similar to those classic cartoon characters. Which is again where I'm talking about the secret science of shape simplification. So we've got this same mouth here, like this. Lips are very small. Interesting. Very small lips here, like that. Okay, the way to solve this, right, of like how to get the jaw, is to understand that she's got a zygomatic bone and a maxilla bone, and the jaw comes in line here like this, right? And so the way to figure that out is to find your point, right? Find my point of her chin, right? Now I will draw to the point of the chin. Now I know that her jaw is here. Now this character, they've eliminated all of the drawing of the jaw up here like this, and they've just got a little cute line here to get the chin there. Gives her a little bit of, because she's not really I mean, a lot of these princesses were like, 16, and 16 is a child, really. It's not a woman. So what I like about these older Disney designs is they really did feel like their age, right? But and this, having this chin, gives her a bit of puppy fat, gives her a bit of doesn't give her a tough jaw or an angled jaw, which is great. Really nice design. So here I'm going on those two wings of the hair, like this. And we've got a bit of follow through coming up. You can see how I'm now, after doing that first drawing, I'm now a lot more confident with the character, right? So you just warm up, familiarize yourself with the shapes. Once you understand the shapes, it all becomes easy. Now many of you will be watching this thinking, oh, he's just drawing really amazing and talking as if it's really easy. Listen, this is where the whole service of my Real Animator Training Library comes into place. I'm doing something that people want to see on this stream. Like, people want to see mastery. People want to see the craft being done at a very high level, because it gives them motivation and inspiration that they too can be able to do that. And that's why you are watching this and enjoying it, right? Because you, deep down inside, part of you feels, I want to be able to do that, and part of you can do that. But the disconnect happens when there is a, let me just think about this, when people then go away and try to do exactly what they've seen a master of the craft do, and then you're not happy with the results. The thing is you have to learn the things that I've learned in order to get to this level. And those things are things that may not necessarily excite you. Things like bouncing balls, or swinging pendulums, or moving flour sacks, or stick figures. In the basics archive of my training library, I have got a head turn of a stick figure, and a lot of people that attempt to do the stick figure head turn with a character with 2 dots as eyes, they can't keep the volume of a character with 2 dots as eyes and a round bulbous head. Now, if you guys are struggling to keep volume on something like that, you got to understand that you're wanting to keep volume and wanting to animate characters like this, or anime characters it's really not going to happen unless you learn the essential things, right? Okay, so I've got this one here. thankfully this style of drawing suits my style of drawing to a T. This is the original style of Disney drawing that inspired me to want to draw, right? I talk about the milk cow stuff now, but I was 10 or 11 years old when the Black Cauldron came out and Dragon's Lair was around, and 80s style Disney drawing was the one that where I started to subconsciously learn and develop these shapes. I've moved on from that now, but I feel most at home when I'm drawing in this style. Right, so we've got her doing this now. Now we're gonna turn into this pose, and I will adjust these drawings and improve them before I move on to in betweening them. How are we doing for time? See, 17 minutes have passed since I did these two drawings, and I gave a whole hour-long talk beforehand. Crazy stuff. Right, so where's that other image that I was looking for? I need to go back. I don't know where it's gone. There it is. There it is. Right. Oopsie, no, not. I don't want that one just yet. I want this one. Every time I look at Princess Alonwe, I think I hear the Elmer Bernstein score in my head. Right, so actually, I'm gonna have to change because I want to drag. So I'm gonna have to slightly change this drawing, but that's okay. Now I'm keeping the eyes open on this head turn because it is a key position, not even a breakdown. What I'm doing is the midway point. So now her nose suddenly turns to this. I'm gonna keep that open mouth, right? So that almost looks like Wendy from Peter Pan. I'm really enjoying this. Thank you to Renata for highlighting this. Always loved this film. Right. Never drawn Alonwe ever. But when I was a little kid, like a lot of these Disney heroines, I had little kind of cute boy crushes on the cartoon characters more so than the live action films. Which is, I guess, which is why I love animation, and I'm an animator and not a live action filmmaker, right? I'm gonna, yeah, the head, we can do that with the head there like that. And we're gonna drag the hair this way. Right, okay, so now we're going to turn the body around. So the body is very simplistic, like this, with the sleeves. Now I'm gonna do a typical arc dip like this. So see, her arm, her hand hair is a swinging pendulum, right? Now I can immediately just do a swinging pendulum for her hand, right? Again, we take you through this in the Real Animator Training Basics archive. And a lot of people who work through the library, I'm not going to just keep trying to sell you my library, right? I'm suggesting it as a service to you, but I'm still going to say a lot of people will do the library exercise, but their brain will make a complete disconnect, right? Because the minute they start to draw characters, they'll get excited. Oh, I'm animating a character, and they won't think about the arcs of that character. See, this hand is not working for me. I want to delay the hand. So they stop thinking of simple things that they've learned with pendulums and balls, and they start to think they're drawing like that because it's a character. Their mentality changes and they forget everything they've learned. So it's important that as you go through those library exercises, you really understand the point of them, right? The point of them is to teach you about arcing, timing, slowing in and slowing out, everything. You're not going to be, nobody's excited about animating a pendulum. Come on, right? So you have to think of, the head sometimes as a bouncing ball or indeed a pendulum, but for the sake of variety, you got to think, okay, well, this head is a ball, right? It's a bouncing ball, and her arms are swinging pendulums, right? And your mentality completely changes. This is a little bit too strong for me. Let me make it this color. Mentality completely then changes, and it's okay to get it wrong. It's okay to struggle, right? Because that's how growth happens, right? That's how you're not going to get it first time. We've all been to school and we've all been conned by the school system, where we've been taught stuff where most of us aren't even interested in the stuff that we're made to learn. And then we're given a test on it. And we get that test right or wrong, and it's called failure or success, right? So we don't like getting things wrong. Well, here's the news. You've got to keep getting things wrong. You've got to keep programming your brain cells to understand how something works through the power of repetition and habit formation. And there is no getting it wrong. They're simply programming the machine, which is what you really are, actually. So let's change our mentality and understand that, you could be spending years trying to figure out how to animate a human or a character through trial and error and through watching YouTube videos of, either experts like me or possibly one, maybe two others, who are going to be showing you amazing things. But then underneath all those amazing things that they're doing, the reason I said possibly one or two is most of the people claiming to teach animation on YouTube are inexperienced kids who just have no ability. I wish them the best, and they're serving their audience and they deserve their success, but I'm talking to a crowd of people who really want to get good at the craft, right? So make sure you're watching somebody who knows what they're doing, who's worked and whose work has a level of professionalism in there that leaves you in awe. It's not just some kid who you resonate with because they like the same shows as you and they sound young like you are, and you resonate with them. Just learn from people who really know what they're talking about, please. Right, so the fact of the matter is when you go away and try to mimic what they're doing, it's not going to work, because you gotta understand what's underneath it all, right? So I'm looking at a front view of the character, but obviously adapting it. Now I'm going to change my arc a little bit. I'm going to move that head down a little bit deeper down, because I want her shoulders to shrug a little bit here. So now here's with the turn of the body. Now I'm using follow through and drag on the wrists, but essentially if you look, it's just a pendulum swinging like that, right? That's all it is. It's nothing And then you say, but I can't draw a hand. Well, let's talk about the drawing of a hand. First, it'll help to know the anatomy of the hand. If you don't know the bones, the names of the bones of the hand, but you know the names of the characters in Lost, or that's a bit old for some of you, Stranger Things or Game of Thrones, then where are your priorities? What's the hamate? What's the lunate? What's the capitate? What's the what's a phalange? What's a tricutrium? Learn the bones of the hand. Okay, so then you can clump them all together, right, in this shape if you're lazy, and then you can drag the finger up, right, and then clump all of the rest of them in another shape like that. Now, the reason I said learn the bones of the hand, you could say, well, if you can draw a hand like that, why learn the bones of the hand? Because this is formulaic and it looks impressive on a live stream, but if all of your work has got hands like that, then I think you'll realize that you're a one-trick pony that can't really draw hands, right? So just understand. Now here's where I'm obviously it's swinging pendulums, but with the subtlety and observation of human bodily movement. Now I'm gonna keep this hand open and I'm gonna separate the fingers to create some delay on the timing of this hand, right? Just like that. So there we go. We've now got these three poses. How are we doing for time? 1 hour 36. So there we are. It takes me more than a month to develop a useful habit. It takes actually 2 months, Grayson, because 30 days you develop the habit, but then you have to consolidate the habit. And then, you then another extra month of maintaining the habit, right? So, there's a reason Nikola Tesla used to love saying 369, right? So this, that's a nice looking piece of work, isn't it? So now we're gonna slightly adjust this pose. So I'm gonna use 2 different Ailonwi poses here, right? Let's keep it where her body is, like this. So she's in the famous W pose, which Pixar and people coming off Animation Mentor love to bully people, saying you're using the generic W pose. And I say, well, you're using the generic head wiggle with the hand on the hip and the finger pointing and the shaking and rattling of the head, which every fucking crap Pixar character does in every fucking crap Pixar film. Sorry, rant over. Right, so there's nothing wrong with this pose. In fact, I use it a lot and I love it. It's a classic 1980s Disney pose, and yet another argument from the CG animators who can't draw to somehow delude themselves into thinking they're superior than the people who could draw, right? So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to keep ranting about that, right? Right, so there we go. So now I'm going to change the angle of her head. Upwards like this. So I'm finding this pose. I'm looking at this pose of her, but okay, so maybe I need to change this, which is why that's not working, because her hip would be doing this. See how I'm thinking about the appeal of the pose here? I want the head, the shoulders to be more or less straight like that. We're gonna bring the character there. We're gonna open her mouth. We're gonna look at it like that. You see. Okay, that's something I think I can work with. I'm gonna do another quick drawing of this. Let me see if I've got another reference of her head. That could be a slightly nicer angle. I'm gonna use that. This is where she says, I can tell because I've seen this film so many times, this particular frame I'm using, but you won't. It's where she says, I'm Princess Alonwi. Right, like that. Right, so let's open that. Let's have the nose. I'm going to use two different Alonwi expressions for this. This to get the proportions of the face right. And then I'm going to move, because her eyes change size. They really grow and shrink, the eyes in this thing, and it's good. I'm not saying that as a bad thing. It's a lost art, as they really try to make hand-drawn films more solid and realistic. They stopped squashing and stretching the eyes of the humans so much. The early 90s Disney films like Aladdin and Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast were the last, really. Then the DreamWorks came with this Prince of Egypt thing, and then suddenly Disney started losing its kind of identity and wanting to do what other studios were doing. They kind of lost that expressiveness in the faces of their 2D stuff. And this, the humans in films like Brother Bear are just, I know what they're trying to do, but it's just like, it just doesn't have the charm or the appeal of the, Pocahontas was one. I love Pocahontas. It's okay to do that once or twice, but then to completely eliminate the cartoon looking humans. They did it a little bit with Princess and the Frog, but to be fair, they tried to go back to this, but it was just an awful film. It felt like it was written by Pixar people and not Disney people. All right, so we've got this, but again, horses for courses. Some people might absolutely love that film, and what did I say before? It's all about service. Who are you providing service for? Right, so we've got this. Now I've drawn her a little bit smaller here as I'm trying to... I see the design of her dress changing. Like Harriet's got this Harriet's cut off at the sleeves, so there's a lot of inconsistencies in this. And these are finished animation drawings that have been colored. So I'm going to have to make my mind up which one am I going to go with. But I'm going to have to do this drawing again, because it's one that I'm really trying to work out from multiple references here, and it's not necessarily going to relate to my previous animation drawing. So I'm just drawing it over my rough, and I'm going to have to tie it all in. Nice hand on this one actually, but I've just sped through it. Real milk cow inspired hands here, and they're quite large, which again I like, because it gives her that, I've drawn them very small here, but it gives her that childlike quality of like she is not a full-grown adult, and she's got some gangly qualities to her, which gives her that subtle, youthful look, which I think is great. Let's do something like that. We're indecisive of her neckline. So I'm changing the drawing that I'm seeing here. Okay. And I'm gonna keep it loose. I'm not gonna be too tidy on those hands. Keep the stream moving. We all get it. I might do a stream where I do one of these kind of things on paper, actually. You see me take a character and animate it on paper at my desk. It's difficult to set my tripod up to film my desk. Again, this is a great way to practice. Now, depending on your skill level, doesn't matter what skill level you are, you're going to, let me just check the volumes of those heads. Yeah, they're good. Depending on what skill level you are, you're still going to get some benefits. The more experienced people are gonna, who really know about shape language and the rules of animation, the laws of animation, are going to be able to really improve their understanding of key animation, timing, arcing, and acting when they do things like this, which is what I'm getting from it. Although, to be fair, this is just a very simple piece. I'm just demoing for the live stream today. But the less experienced people are going to build brain cells on how characters are constructed and how their shapes change in relation to each other on the keys. So you're not going to be so obsessed with trying to keep form and volume by looking at the previous drawing. You're going to be watching shapes moving and changing, right? So here we've got this, right, made here. Now what's the time? What I might do as I tidy up these other drawings to, like this first drawing in particular, so it kind of matches with the rest of it, and then I'll put in some in-betweens and breakdowns. I'm gonna read some of your questions and comments so I can answer them while I'm doing it. People are arguing about certain things, even though Treasure Island was not a box office success. I actually really liked it too. I loved Atlantis and Treasure Planet. People are talking about Disney and DreamWorks. Thank you, Paul Kapow. Again, Paul says as I work really fast while talking and drawing. I'm going to touch on that as I start tidying up my work. Again, Edge Deep is talking about habits and fundamentals. So Grayson is talking about the legends, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson. Amazing. Okay, so while I tidy up these drawings here, just these ones, I'm going to talk about this. So Paul, thank you so much for your admiration and acknowledgement of my abilities. I really do appreciate that. But it's something, again, like I try to lead by example. I have reached a level through where I can talk while work and teach while working. I've reached a level where I can do that simply by going about what Edge Deep was talking about, above fundamentals by learning fundamentals and habits. Now, I don't have to try to sell you my product, because I know you just told me somebody applied to applied for the master bundle yesterday, and it was you, right? And you said I'm going to save up for it. So awesome. So when I'm talking about my course to you here, I'm not trying to sell it to you, right? Because clearly you're already interested, right? Which is great. But what I am going to say is that if you join that course, what I take you on is I take you through a series of very repetitive, right, habit building skills that enable you to program your subconscious mind to be able to understand the 12 laws of animation, which is timing, slowing in, slowing out, arcing, pose to pose and straight ahead, follow through, overlap and drag, solid drawing, squash and stretch, anticipation, primary and secondary action, exaggeration, appeal, and staging, right? So you see, these things I've done to such a continuous level, right? All my life, not just the 7 years I've been building the library, but even when I was working in the industry. These are things that I've been doing since I was a teenage boy, or even younger, because I wanted to be a hand-drawn animator when I was 8 years old, right? So these are things that I've been... Now, I don't understand this pose here, so I'm going to alter it very slightly, right? So these are things that I've been doing since I was 8 years old, right? And then I built the library, and I systematically found a formula for building the right habits, right? So as I sit here on these live streams, and I give these instructional demonstrations, I am going to confess something to you. I am just as much of an observer as you are. I'm literally like the commentator to a soccer match, watching my subconscious do the work, right? My body is a machine. It's a servo mechanism. There's a great book by a guy called Maxwell Maltz, Psycho-Cybernetics, right? Where it talks about the programming of habits in the body. Your body is a cybernetic organism, much like a thermostat in a house for the heating, or an autopilot for an aeroplane, right? With a destination that's charted, right? And the body is a machine that is programmed, right? And we're all programmed. We're programmed at birth to have certain beliefs, certain names. We're given certain names and told to live up to the beliefs and the culture behind those names. And society is all conditioned to have greater and lesser people of certain qualities and aspects, and we're taught this, that, and the other, and we go along with it. We're programmed. So we can also program our subconscious servo mechanism in whatever we want, right? We can either waste time trying to unprogram stuff that really it's going to take too long and it doesn't really bother us that much. Or we can say, well, what do I want? What do I want to be good at? What do I want to learn? How can I do 100 press-ups a day, for example? You program yourself through repetition and habit to be able to do 100 press-ups a day, right? How can I do a backflip? You program yourself through repetition and habit of the right exercises to do a backflip, right? And that's all it is. So I have programmed myself through repetition and habit to draw and animate in accordance to the laws and the technical craft of animation, right? To not just draw and animate any way I want to, any way you want it, that's the way you want, right? To not just draw and animate what I want, but to draw and animate in accordance to the rules and laws of the craft to do it well. Now, I have programmed myself. There are times when I would never be able to sit down and knock out feature animation at the drop of a hat. You're seeing me drawing a Disney, one of Disney like multi-million-dollar character design. This ain't no simple nonsense that's, you know, like Cartoon Network stuff. You're seeing me animated complex humanoid with cartoon appeal while talking effortlessly on a live stream. Granted, I'm looking at some of the examples, but this is all my own interpretation, right? But here's the fact of it. I'm actually just observing the process, which is why I can talk about it. And I'll leave the work to my subconscious, right? So I'm like the commentator in a soccer match who's just talking about what I'm watching. Oh yeah, when I'm doing an eye, right, I can start talking any old crap about the eye. You know, like iris comes from the Egyptian god Osiris, and the pupil inside the eye is called the pupil because you are the pupil of Osiris, and that's why we have the name Iris. I can start talking about any kind of thing I want to relate to what I'm looking at, and just let my mind ramble and wander while my servo mechanism is doing the real work. It's almost like the blood cells in my body doing their job, you know, nourishing my body, carrying oxygen, or you know, the liver and kidneys operating the way they need to. That's now what the actual process of animation is like. My hand is being controlled by something beyond what I'm, you know, my mind is free, right? And again, it's nothing special, right? I'm not exceptional because you are made of the same stuff as me, right? You have the same machine that I'm talking about. You're no different. The only thing that makes it different is the understanding of the process, right? I have programmed myself in these things and you haven't. That's the only difference. Once you have programmed yourself in these things, you too will be able to do them, and they will not be so special to you anymore. In fact, like many other of my successful library members, they have moved on. They no longer watch me or learn from me, and they sometimes raise their heads and say, hello, look, this is what I've done, because they still respect me. But as it should be, they're now well on the way to crafting their destiny, right? So that's where the real service is, my friend. I do not hit it. It's all by itself. Exactly. Right. So I have kind of tidied up these drawings in the second hour of the stream. So we've had an hour of chat and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to break this down, right? How are we doing for time? 3 o'clock. Not bad. Right. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this stream, the library, joining my library is not the only way that you can support me. There is a donate link in the description. Let me briefly mention that. So again, this goes to the person who was asking me about getting donations. If you have a community and you serve them, So go to it'll take you to ambanimation.com, where you can go. You'll be taken to the donation page, and it'll say, yes, I'd like to donate to AMB, and the donation, you either can choose one of these, or you can put other and say, here's $1 AMB, and you know what, that $1 will still mean the world to me. So because you have taken the time out of your day to deviate from what you were going to do just to tell me that. So thank you. That's that. And of course, we've got Real Animator Training. Now, I'm not going to spend too long on this, but it's the sponsor of my live stream. So the whole reason we're looking at my live streams and I'm on YouTube is so that I can serve you, and in turn continue to serve those of you who join this course, which keeps me going, and the cycle is continuous. So here's the page for my course. If you click join now, you will have the choice of training archives or edutainment archives. The training archives are the ones that take you through the step-by-step instruction, which is what I spoke to you about: swinging pendulums, bouncing balls, flour sacks, basics, intermediate, advanced. You can watch these videos. They show you all kinds of things. The professional animation archive is even more advanced than the advanced archive. It will teach you about storyboarding and actually being able to apply story techniques to the animation that you've learned. I'm not going to go and play any of these. You can go and look at that. The other section is much like today's live stream. Excuse me, I must have a bit of traffic on my my server. Needs to just, if any of you users get that, just hit refresh. It's to do with traffic on my server. So here we have the animation edutainment archives, which is much like what we're doing in today's live stream. This is edutainment. I'm not really training you. I'm giving you motivation. I'm giving you inspiration. If you want the best pick of my edutainment, you can get it here in this section. One of the most semi-training archives that I have is the Anime Sakuga and Effects archive. It's very, very powerful, actually. I didn't put it in training because it's not really training, but what you do is you watch me study anime fight scenes, anime special effects like water and fire and smoke, and you get to see me breaking them down and reanimating the stuff that I'm seeing and explaining to you what I'm seeing and why I think the animators have done that. So it's a nice entry-level archive to get into the library. It's the price of a pair of Nike trainers. So it's about what you value and what you think you're going to watch. Again, is it of service to you? Then here's one for you. Right, so go check out ambanimation.com, Real Animator Training. I'm not going to talk any more about that. I just want to press on with the stream. But it is a life-changing place that I've spent 7 years building. And you know, you want to be able, you won't get to my level like that. Let's face it, it takes a lot of time. But you want to get eventually to my level. I'm sharing everything I know with you, the whole journey through those various archives. All right, now let's start breaking this down. All right, so what am I going to do? Here's one of the rules of animation. It's arcing, but it's also anticipation. We're going to go down, right? We're going to take the character down a little bit. So I'm going to bring the head down, right? We're going to use a bit of squash and stretch, anticipation. So these are the laws. So the first laws, one of the laws you saw me use was pose to pose, right? I used pose to pose to make the action, right? To make my keys and extreme frames. Now I'm putting in, so the 6 laws of movement, which we learn in the basics archive. Let me talk about this. This is important. So in the basics archive of the training library, the 12 laws are broken down. In the basics, you learn 6 laws of movement, right? And those 6 laws are what we talked about. We talked about timing, arcing, slow in and slow out, right? Then there's another law which you've seen me talk about, pose to pose, right? And straight ahead, right? The other law is follow through, overlap and drag, which goes very much with the pendulum, right? And we do learn a bit of squash and stretch in this archive, but it's not primary, right? We focus more on these laws of movement. And the one is solid drawing, keeping it solid, right? So that's what I did when I did these initial frames of animation, right? I focused on the 6 laws of movement. Now I also focused on the life, but now I'm gonna be putting in, when I'm breaking it down, I'm gonna make it come alive. So in the intermediate archive of the training library, intermediate, right? We focus on the 6 laws of life to make the 12 laws, right? The 12 months of the year, the 12 disciples, the 12 signs of the zodiac, right? The 12 hours of the day, right? Very important universal law, universal number. We're breaking it down. 6 laws of life. We focus on squash and stretch, right? Squash and stretch, right? Then we have anticipation, which is what I'm doing now, explaining to you now. Then we have primary and secondary action, right? Will I include that in this scene? I'm not sure as of yet, right? Then we have exaggeration, right? 5 we have appeal, right? And 6 we have staging, right? These 3 are very advanced and very subtle things that are very misunderstood, and everybody does them at some level, but most people do them at a very poor level, right? Most people don't think about the staging, and most people have pre-assumptions about exaggeration and appeal, which is why most of their stuff is no good, right? Right, so here I'm going to put in a bit of squash and stretch, but more so anticipation. So I'm going to blink my character, right? I'm going to work with partials here. I'm going to squash and stretch her cheeks a bit more as she comes down. Right. I'm not really going to draw it in as much. I'm going to put a little bit of it's not follow through, but it's a little bit of drag on the hair, right? Just to give it a bit of, and that's exaggeration because her hair would not drag up like that, right? But it's subtle. It's being done in a subtle way, right? So this is my first kind of breakdown into this. Now I've gone down before I've gone up, right? But now I have to go back to the law of arcing, right? And the law of timing. Now how am I going to have her go up, right? I've come down like this. Maybe for a quarter of a second, which is 6 frames. Again, the law of timing, the first cause of everything. We begin learning animation with this, and we end learning animation with this. It is everything. Again, 12 is a very important number, right? 24 frames per second. Even if we're working on 2s, we then have 12. But we always work on 24 to give us the opportunity, if things are not working, to switch between 1s and 2s, right? So if I want half a second, I've got 12 frames. If I want 1/4 of a second, I've got 6 frames. And I can either play between 10 and 8 to extend a bit of time or take away a bit of time. So my brain, my subconscious now thinks, okay, 1/4 of a second, it'll take 6 frames to do this movement, right? To go from here to here. Now I'm going to want to come out quick, right? So I'm going to come out on, I can either come out, here's drawing A and here's drawing B. I can either plonk my drawing A1 halfway. I can either plonk it 1/3 of the way, right? Or I can either plonk it 2/3 of the way, right? Between the two. And they'll all change the speed and the effect. I can also plonk it really close to the previous or really close to the other, but we're not going to talk about that in the moment, right? I'm working on what we call thirds here. So 1/3 of the way, I'm going to have her head about here, right? And the arc is going to be this. Right? So it's not going to go like this in a circle, right? In fact, that would be interesting if I change it, right? I like circular arcs, right? So in fact, I'm going to have it here, right? It's more natural to do that, right? So her head is going to be here, right? And the body, I'm also going to put on a third like that. But the hands, I'm going to just open. So that's going to be a favor. That's that close drawing that I spoke to you about, right? That super close drawing. I'm just going to open the hands, right? So then I'm going to kind of keep them in position, just very slightly moving, right? Like that. Bum, 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 right? So now what I want here is I want her eyes to open, right? So I'm not thinking about the model at the moment, right? I will go back and think about solid drawing. At the moment I'm thinking about squash and stretch in the face. I'm going to keep her mouth closed. I'm going to keep it subtle. Right. I'm going to have the hair come down on itself. Need to think about the body and the neck. It's one thing that's getting lost in all of this. Right. Okay. Right, so I'm now going to draw this in a bit better, and I'm going to choose to look at this drawing when I do so instead of this one, right? Because I'm now, although I'm closer to this drawing here, I want to think more about this expression. So when I hit this expression, right? So I want to look at that. So here I just look at the shape, and I don't, like the animators of today, like hand-drawn animation is a really lost art. People are wowed by this stuff today, and I'm like shaking my head because they're using the TV paints or the whatever shitty software that they're using, and for anything involving the head, like the body, they're doing all the hand-drawn Japanese-inspired Sakuga crazy exaggerated over-the-top camera movements and thinking that's good. But anything subtle involving quality drawing of the face and the head, they're just basically doing like cutout. They're taking a previous head and they're kind of like pasting it where they you know, on a hand-drawn body. It looks just so detached. People have lost this art, right? I'm gonna look at that, but I'm gonna think about the head in relation to the pose that I'm drawing, right? The hair is going to come down. So yes, I want it to be similar, but I don't want it to be exact, right? And that's what people don't understand in this obsession for saving time and saving and keeping things solid. They're losing the life in their work. I'm just going to keep the head like this. Right. Again, I'm keeping it fairly rough, the way it would be animated if it was on a rough in a film. All right, and we're gonna have her hair there like that. Briefly turn the light box on, just here like that for the hair. Right, now we're gonna open up these hands. How are we doing for time? 2 hours 15, not bad. We're gonna get a nice movement out of this. We need to keep the shape of that thing there like this. So that stays pretty much where it needs to be. This hand I can keep open. I'm going to look at the chat in a minute to see if there's any more okay. That's nice and loose. A lot of that needs to still be worked out. Be careful watching Golden Age shorts around kids. They love the films, but now they're asking me to buy war bonds. I don't know. I don't understand. But I certainly would rather my kid watch Golden Age shorts than the stuff, the patronizing stuff aimed at kids today. You know, back in the day when in the 70s, kids used to read Charles Dickens and Treasure Island and all these, you know, but now they kids are called smart today because they know how to use the zombieifying technology that's using to program their brains with patronizing, you know, I can't, you know, everybody talks like all these high-pitched, pathetic, patronizing voices in kids. Like, I'm so glad I grew up when I did, you know, reading books like Great Expectations and Scrooge and A Tale of Two Cities and, you know, all these extremely deep, nice stories that most social media zombified adults would struggle with today. So that's now we've come into this pose here. So now I'm going to think about what goes between hair and hair, right? Again, I'm going to do a little bit of a slow-in movement. So the head is going to slightly turn here, but not too much, as it drags its way. And I'm going to blink her again, because double blink in the eye gives a lot of let's just change the mouth a little bit there like that. Let's put a bit of drag in the hair. So no, I'm not really using much secondary action here. It's a pretty much straight on piece of work. Let's drag the hair this way. this. Bum, bum, bum. There we go. Let's have the body come in here. Now, the hand I'm going to put halfway, right, to bring some unification in the timing, right? Having things moving evenly is boring, but it also is unifying. So adds a little bit of balance to what could be too jumpy a movement, right? So it's balancing the timing, the slowing in and slowing out, which exists within the timing, right? I'm gonna leave that drawing as is. Not so sure about either of those two. Grayson, I've heard Satoshi Gon, but I'm not sure about Arthur Rahman. Thank you, Silver Sun. I feel like shows and movies have sincerity in places, but it's misplaced and obscured by other things. Absolutely. I hope you're doing well, AMB. You are a big inspiration. Thanks for sharing this process. Thank you so much. Daydream Dragon. I was born and raised in the UK, and I still live there, but I also live in New Zealand. So I married a Kiwi, and I'm currently based in New Zealand. Right. So here we have this. Right. Now we're going to slow into this. We could pop into this pose and have another pose to settle, but then imagine if we were going to cut. So I'm going to slow into it, right? With just by moving 2/3 away from this drawing, just to bring an end to it. If I really wanted this animation to really work, I wouldn't in between hair and hair. I'd have a settling pose, right? Like this. Maybe bring her head down and straighten the body, and settle into that. But I don't want to do that because I just want to, I could do it, but it'll involve a lot more work than I intend to do on this live stream, right? So let's just slow into this and be boring. All right. So here I'm gonna use the mechanics of the hand. It's gonna be on its side. That's where her hand would be. The body actually would still be 1/3 of the way, right? So this is, the body is 1/3 closer to this drawing, right? But I was originally wanting it to be 2/3, but probably I'm not going to be able to slow into it, slow out of it. Slow into it, sorry. I'm gonna have to slow out of the previous pose with the drag, right? Yeah, that works, right? So now here's a little bit of shape simplification for you all. This complex head is made really simple by working out the outline shape first, right? Now I will focus. Here's where I'm talking about, well, it's not really slowing, it's half. I'm gonna use this drawing here to create this drawing here, right? Not by tracing it, by flipping and looking at the shapes, right? By watching the change in the shapes, and I can already see the previous drawing with the light box, but that drawing is going to change fast, and we're going to focus more on this drawing, right? So I don't care so much about that drawing, right? This is the one I care about, right? We have the hair, which is going to come like this. Man, I love drawing and animating this old school Disney style. Absolutely one of, the cornerstones to my own style of drawing and animating. I have a lot of unkind things to say about the Disney studios today, but make no mistake, if it wasn't for the classic hand-drawn Disney films, I would not be doing what I'm doing today. I would not have the skills I have today, and therefore the people watching and learning from me would not be able to do so. So in my opinion, we all owe a lot to this stuff. Okay, here's what's deadening the movement, this hand. So I'm going to throw in something nice here. I'm going to throw in a wrist action. To gesture that a bit more. There we go. Right. Okay, so that drawing is just a little too scruffy, so I'm going to tidy up that drawing, and I think we can kind of call it a day. Of course, do studios hire? Hey, listen, my whole life I've been a freelancer. I was a freelancer for Universal Pictures on the Tales of Despero. I was a freelancer for 20th Century Fox on Fantastic Mr. Fox. I've been a freelancer for the BBC. I've been a freelancer for ITV, International Television. I've been a freelancer when I directed the animation for Series 1 of Lego, The Legends of Chima, right? Even though it's CG, and I didn't even do any CG, I was still the animation director for that, because they needed my expertise, right? So I've been a freelancer storyboarding for Disney Junior. I've been a freelancer storyboarding for Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network. The only work I ever had or accepted in my life was freelance work. And that's why I've never felt the fear of people who have had secure paychecks, right? There's a downside to not having the secure paycheck, meaning you're always on the hunt. You're a huntsman. But that's the only life I've ever known. Therefore, I have trained myself to habitually live that way, which is why quitting the animation industry and doing what I do and building a business was, I'm not saying it was easy, one of the hardest things anybody can ever do, right? But it was a relatively easy process for me because I'm used to having periods of my life with no income, because I do contracts for people with negotiate good pay, particularly when you got to the level I did as a freelancer in the UK. Extremely in demand story artist. When I decided to quit, I even had people from Canada and Turkey and Hungary offering me plane tickets and room and board to go to their countries and supervise and oversee their projects, which I declined, by the way, because once I've decided to do something, that's it. So I walked away from the animation industry. So while you can have months and periods with no income, make no mistake, you can have a very successful and fruitful life as a freelancer, if you're good enough, and if you can serve people with what they want, shall we say. It's all about service. So being able to be without for a little while enabled me to really focus on what I wanted in life. And this is a good point raised to the person who asked me the question at the beginning of the stream, where I talked for almost an hour about how to raise money to fund your own projects and products as a independent content creator. You obviously need financial income to sustain yourself as you are doing your mission in life. But however, if you have capital from savings and you are willing to risk that, as I did, then great. But if you do not, then you may have to consider doing something else. Maybe not even an art-related form of income. But the fact is to do it with the understanding, not with the resentment, that it is part of the procedure. It is all part of the procedure of you getting to where you want to be. There's a very misunderstood law of attraction book by a guy called Wallace Wattles called The Science of Getting Rich, which made this film in the 90s, The Secret, which people then misunderstood and thought they just had to sit and think. Think and Grow Rich, another one by Napoleon Hill. They just had to sit and think, and by magic and the law of attraction, millions of dollars will come into their pockets. There's some truth to that, but they missed what Wallace Wattles was trying to say. He said, you have to do things in a certain way. Now, most people don't understand what that certain way is. Wallace Wattles wrote another book that other people don't really focus on called The Science of Being Great, which actually gives away a lot of the game far more than The Science of Being Rich, because everybody wants to be rich, right? Without realizing they already are. Basically, you have to do every trivial act, however trivial, in a great way. Now, what does that mean? That's doing things in a certain way. Meaning everything you do physically, your subconscious has to believe is related to your destiny, which you've carved. Whether you're even, as ridiculous as it sounds, when I go to take a shit, I go to take a shit believing that I'm one of the best animators in the world, one of the best animation instructors in the world, and people all over the world trust and depend on me as their very best source of animation information, guidance, and tutorials, right? So even if I pick my nose, I'm that. Now, I might already be that now, but there was a time when I wasn't that. There was a time when I was an animation director. There was a time when I was an animation, a storyboard artist. There was a time when I was a student. But what am I defining myself as, right? So you've got to keep talking to your subconscious that, like, even when you're doing certain things, you're doing them in a certain way.
with the power and attitude of why you're doing it. So some of you, like Silversun and Hervonia Baker, might really hate the jobs that they have. And they go, I don't want this job. I don't want this job. My suggestion is to be grateful for those jobs because they're giving you the time and the capital. They're your investors investing in you to be a great animator because that's what you actually are. But if you're not aware of that, then it's all lost. You got to be aware that everything is perfectly in place with your destiny. But if you don't know it and you can't see it, then you're going to miss it. Right? That's what Wallace Wattles meant. It isn't like, I think and grow rich. I think I'm rich. I think I'm rich. And you're looking around everywhere. You're seeing that your bank balance is a piece of shit. Nobody's watching your stuff. Your work is no good. It's not what you think it should be. And basically, you start feeling like crap. And however much you say, I think I'm a millionaire, I think I'm succeeding, however much you are telling yourself all this, your inner being knows that's all bullshit. You're a scared little boy or a scared little girl who feels very bad about their situation. And that's what your 3D reality, your world, your truth, your perception is revealed. What is it they say in that? Is it a biblical term? Know the truth and the truth will set you free. Well, if your truth is that you're a scared little boy who feels really bad about your situation, that's okay. You know the truth. Now you can start changing that truth, because the truth is not universal. There are universal laws, but the truth of whether you like something or you don't like something, or something's good for you or bad for you, is all perception. You know? It's all perception. And that can be changed. Your circumstances can be changed. But it's how you look at them. Right, anyway. So, here's our little piece of animation that we did, featuring the lovely Princess Elonwy from the Black Cauldron. And this could have easily been a scene in the Black Cauldron, and you have watched me casually knock it out while talking to you about how I did it and answering your questions on a live stream. Am I boasting and showing off by saying that? Partly. But why am I really saying that? I'm really saying that I'm merely an example of the servo mechanism. My subconscious mind trained into learning certain things so I can do them so well that it's no longer any effort on my part. Nothing. I just sit down and watch it happen and be a commentator while we all watch it happen together, right? And that's why I built the Real Animator Training Library. I don't call it the Real Animator Learning Library. I don't call it teaching. I'm not teaching. Everything in life is training. I always go back to the simple thing of repeatedly doing the same movement over and over again till it becomes extremely powerful. Right? That's all it is. I don't even have to think. I can just live. Something comes at me. Boom, boom, boom. It's the same things we learn through doing things with our physical body. You can do that to destroy things, or you can do it to create things. You know? And it's just repetition and habitual training. Right, so that was it. Great stream. We talked for an hour beforehand, and this stream ended up being shorter than the other stream. Which is good, because I haven't had any breakfast, lunch, or dinner yet, and it's 3:42 in the afternoon. Thanks for the knowledge. How do you start freelancing, though? It's quite okay. Now the world has changed a little bit. How do you start freelancing? Let me change from mic to web.
Yeah. So how do you start freelancing? Listen, AI is here. Jobs and careers are going to be a lot scarcer now. The world is changing. Hollywood, I'm not going to go into it, but if we look, Hollywood is completely having to rework itself, right? And when it emerges anew after what's currently going on, it's kind of metaphorical for what's happening to a lot of people's careers in there, right? Because the technology is there. It's a making money system. They want efficiency. Artists have long been the bane of producers and the money men, because artists have to be treated with care. They're artists. They care about the art. They care about the temperament. Now the money men have a digital artist to perform at the push of a button. It still needs to be managed by artists, but far lesser artists are required. So freelancing can exist today, but listen, I think it's far better for you to focus on creating content. That's my advice, rather than trying to look for people to give you money. Serve. There are many ways you can serve people. Freelancing is one of them, and it can still be done. But to be honest, I'm not sure. It's not something that I would want to get back into right now. And there are so many great artists who are very scared, very frightened, and don't know what to do with their lives right now in the world, because they are only living in one box. And the thought of social media, the thought of putting themselves out there, and then also the pain of not being recognized for what they were in the film industry on social media, while seeing randos and 21-year-olds making, how I became an animator. Hey, when I animate, I do this. And then they've got millions of views, and Mr. Big Film Director has got like 1K views. Some of them just won't be able to take that pain, right? Now, that's why you're in a strong position. You're not coming from that world which is completely crumbling. You can begin hungry, fresh, create your content, put yourself out there, find your audience and serve your audience. Serve the people who value you. Don't try to look to be valued by people who want to use you. So, but I'm not trying to talk you out of freelancing. If that's your number one aim in life, and you work and believe, and as I said, do things in a certain way in accordance to that vision of your destiny. Thank you so much, brother, for the donation. Really appreciate it. You will accomplish what you set out to do. Persistence, all right? But my personal view of freelancing, if you're asking me, is it's oh, we got another one. Thank you. It's basically it's I don't think it's the best route, right? But those who are, not everybody would want to climb Mount Everest, right? But one man did, and then others followed. If you want to lead the way in trying to board a sinking ship and mend that ship, it can be done. But I wouldn't put my energy into that. Do you believe in imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is basically when one becomes aware of their own ego. I don't know if it's a syndrome, but I know that the word person is a Latin word for mask. And imposter syndrome is simply when somebody is living a life where they are perceived in certain ways and they don't feel that they are that, what they are perceived to be, or what they are believe themselves or kid themselves into being. It's a perfectly natural state of being, because we are all imposters in some aspect. I mean, the mind is not a physical thing. You cannot, it's not tangible. Your mind, I mean, you may have heard this from other people. Who is the I and who is the me? And who is the, what is the self? The I, which we all are, our real names is I am. We all say I am. Whether we say it in another language, we refer to ourselves as all in this with the same word, because we're all that same consciousness. And the me is a separate. So when that consciousness suddenly for a moment realizes it's not the me, that's what people term to be imposter syndrome. It's a natural state of being. Everybody will experience it. But it's when you try to make sense of it from the point of view of the me that you become a very confused being. And to those people I have a little bit of sympathy for. Do you believe that more artists will appear because of AI? More artists may appear because of AI. Or, you know, indie artists are always going to be indie artists. Look, at the end of the day, AI changes nothing, because as a being, as a psycho-cybernetic organism, you all have a zest for life. You all want to feel a sense of purpose. Now that purpose is lost as we're constantly told to look outside of ourselves for value from others. You know, when you're giving value, you're not receiving value, right? Giving is part of receiving. So we think we're inadequate. We think we need to do something because of the rules of society. We need to buy a house and support a family, and wouldn't it be nice if I did that, doing something I loved, and all this and that and the other, right? All these kind of things we hear from the outside that screw our brains up. But from the inside, you just want to be happy and you just want to be content. And that happiness and contentment can come from something as simple as lying in bed and being at peace. Thank you so much, JP, for that donation. So the thing is, but then we think we're being lazy when we're doing that, right? Because we've got to go and we've got to do things. What am I talking about? I'm talking about a sense of inner fulfillment, a sense of purpose. So all these people that are afraid of AI, it doesn't mean just because AI can do something, your life is ruined. Nothing's stopping you from drawing. Nothing's stopping you from animating. The only thing stopping you from animating and drawing is a false sense of belief that somehow, because AI can do it, anybody can now do it, and you're irrelevant because anybody else can do it. So the only reason you were doing it then, on those premises, is you felt that you were better than everybody else and you're special. But you are special and you are unique. And the things you do are because you love them. Those people, look, people take everything for granted. Everybody wants money, everybody wants all these things, and I do too, nothing wrong with that. But we all take the air that we breathe for granted. We don't even think about the air that we breathe. We don't even think about the fact that the sun comes up. We don't even wonder what these trees are. They're just there and we like to take it for granted, and we don't even use it. We don't even appreciate it. When somebody says, Be grateful for the air that you breathe, and be grateful for the trees in the sky, and go and take a walk in nature, and you're trying to do something and make money in life, you roll your eyes and you go, for fuck's sake. That's, but there's a truth in it. The things that really make your body operate, because if they didn't exist, your body, you wouldn't be able to be doing all those things, you're not grateful for. Well, when AI is here and all the people who can do AI at the push of a button have it, do you think that they're really going to be doing it all the time and creating? They're not creative people. Just because they have the ease to do it, they're not creative. And the ones who really don't learn the rules of creation and the rules of filmmaking and the rules of that and just leave it all to AI, they're just going to be continuously saturating the market with crap. And who cares? They're serving no one, and other people are, or whoever's being served by them is being served by them. But what has that got to do with you? What has that got to do with your passion for fulfillment, to cure yourself of the boredom of the existence that you've been blessed with? You're all, trying to find a way of not being bored, which is why the powers that be in the rules of this game know how to basically zombify you and bore you to death. Next, next, next. Well, that's what being a consumer is. The creators of this world will not give a damn. You will always create. And you will always produce. Good, bad, or indifferent. Whether you succeed, whether you fail, whether people buy what you're giving or whether they don't, you will always want to scratch that itch, because it's an itch that's unique and personal to you. That's why I do not care about AI. A lot of people are afraid of AI. A lot of people, in fact, if anything, AI will help my real animator training library. That's what I believe. I know it. Real versus artificial. The people who they'll go through a period of fear. They will be afraid. They will say, what's the point? Nobody hires artists anymore. I won't be able to get a job. But hey, why do people learn martial arts? Why do people learn how to go to a firing gun range? Why do people learn? They say self-defense, but 90%, even more, 99%, no martial artist has ever really used it in the streets. They go there and they go, ha, 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 because they're getting a kick out of it. I've lived that life. I've lived that world. I was an instructor. Middle-aged men, young boys wanting to feel like they're movie stars and tough. A few people who really want to compete competitively, yeah, but a lot of people just do it because that gives them a sense of fulfillment. That's why they love life. Some people like to fish. He can go to the supermarket. He can go, in England, we've got this place called Billingsgate Fish Market. My God, anything you want, it's there. Fishermen don't care. My father-in-law, he likes to go on his little boat. He likes to go all the way to the beach, and I caught these fish and cut them and cooked them for his family. We could have all got those fish at the supermarket. But you know what? There's a sense of fulfillment. There's somebody who's got a fulfilling life. So the people who are afraid, some of them are going to quit out of fear, but sooner or later in their life, they're going to realize that that was all an illusion. The real love, the most powerful force on earth, the most magnetic force on earth, love, and love for drawing and animating, is something that they're going to always have. Some of them will go to other people teaching it, who are teaching it to a lesser level of depth than what mine's the most in-depth. Mine's the most step-by-step training course videos. For one walk cycle, I have 4 videos, 24 videos for walk cycles, 6 different walk cycles, splitting the body into various parts. My videos are so in-depth. That's not for everybody. Some people just want to have fun. Some people just like to draw cartoons and watch people drawing great cartoons. There are people who serve them. I serve the real deal. I serve the hardcore. I serve the people who really want to get good at this. So the people who will come to me have never really cared for AI, will never use AI, will never, it's not about even career. It's about creation. So I have no concern over AI. And I suggest none of you should have any concern over AI. It doesn't concern you. Hey, Dylan. How do I create a short film with no experience in storyboarding? Use AI. All right? I'm not being funny. There's two things you can do. And thanks to AI, you have a chance. Otherwise, there was just one thing that you need. Well, there was always two things. There are three things you can do, really. You can just put your film with no experience out there and see what it is, see what people think, right? Or keep creating for your own fuller purpose and enrichment in life. Nothing wrong with that. That's one. Number two exists thanks to AI. You can now rely on the AI to give you the experience you don't have, right? And you can put the stuff out there, right? Nothing wrong with that. I don't see the difference. To me, I consider most CGI animators, most 2D puppet animators, rig animators, I consider them AI operators anyway. They don't know how to draw and animate. I never really, may respect them as people, but I never ever, that's why another reason why I don't get all this AI thing. It's like real animators left the building years ago. What are you talking about? Why are you all in such a tiz? You know, the machine is now doing it itself. I mean, you were just a push button operator. You know, be grateful for the money you made and the time and the stardom you had, because, you know, arguably some of that wasn't deserved. So, but now you've got AI, right? Or the option which my channel specializes in, you learn. You learn the rules of storyboarding. I've got a great archive in my library, the Professional Archive. 7 videos teaching you all about the fundamentals of filmmaking, and then you watch me storyboard through 15 videos, or 12 to 15 videos, an entire sequence, implementing those rules. You can learn, not just from me, from others as well. You can learn and get the experience. It's like, it's like a baby that hasn't learned the language to speech, crying, trying to communicate to its mom, how can I tell you I'm hungry? How can I tell you I'm hungry? The mom will get it. Some people will assume it's hungry because that's all the baby does. It just wants to eat. Maybe the baby wants to play. Maybe the baby's weed itself. But it just uses one thing to communicate. Right? So you're a baby in the world of storyboarding and animation and design. Nothing wrong with that. That means you're pure, uncorrupt, and ready to take on the world, right? Nothing wrong with that at all. But you have the choice. You know, how do you want to take on the world? Do you want to take it by actually understanding what you're saying, by learning language and understanding what you're saying, or do you want other people to carry you all the time? It's your choice. Either way, whatever makes you happy, lead a fulfilling life. There's no wrong answers. In a way, we are better than any studios individually. We do our own thumbnail, storyboarding, line art, clean up, background. Exactly. I will learn the fundamentals of mastery first before adding other technologies. You can do both if you like. Here's another thing. Again, going back to this thing, a lot of people listen to me. And I can tell, Paul, that you're really into the things I say, and I really value that and appreciate that, which is why I'm saying what I'm saying right now. I can either abuse that, or I can respect you and appreciate you back by telling you what I'm telling you now. I am a finger pointing away to the moon. You don't need to concentrate entirely on me. The light of the moon is what's lighting us all. Learn the fundamentals, yes. But if you want to embrace other technologies as well, and that's where your heart is, and you want to apply those fundamentals to those technologies, it's all about you, my friend. We're resonating, you're getting good information from me, that's great. But ultimately, don't feel just if I'm saying something. If I'm saying something that's the way it is, right? That's not. I'm giving you great information. I'm giving you sharing my knowledge, and I'm glad that you're emptying your cup to absorb that knowledge. But it's your cup. It's your cup. What are the main things to put in a portfolio for 2D animated roles for studios? Again, all of these examples I'm giving you are outdated. Back in my day, what 2D animators really needed was strong figure drawing capabilities, a good command of anatomy, a good command of line and gesture that conveyed personality through posing and body language. Very few cartoons were required for an animator's portfolio at Disney or anything like that. Some cartoon drawings, but mostly life drawing, gesture drawing. Later on, it became about cartoon drawing a little bit more. Then it became about which software do you use, and what projects have you worked on, and how fast can you snap from one character to another with this crude piece of software. And then it became an abstract concept which I can't really help you with or explain anymore. And now in the world of AI, I really don't know what they're looking for. I think they're looking to get rid of people to do these kind of small roles for them. Unless there's now what might happen, and I'm praying this happens for some of you who still want the industry to work. I couldn't care less. I'm done with it. I think it's tired. Everything has its birth, life, and death cycle. I think it's dead. But for those of you that want to breathe life into it, and I'm praying for it, I'm praying for it for your sake, that in the light of AI, some studios will open to offer something different and will start focusing on traditional artistic techniques. But then just like back when in my day, I may not look it, but I'm almost 50 years old, okay? In my day, back when I was applying for jobs, there were very few and far between. A special select few of people who could really draw and who could really animate. And yes, if you could play the networking game too, because it was a cottage little industry. And if they didn't like you, however good you was, they would make sure that you were not welcome. But apart from that, you had to be able to draw really well and animate really well, and it became an exclusive skill. And maybe in the saturated light of AI, there might be a few studios set up where that happens again. Maybe then some of the things I talk about portfolio may have some relevance. But as of today, I cannot give you a straight answer that I know, because now I just think nobody cares about quality anymore. They care about what have you worked on before, how fast, how many seconds, how many minutes can you do a day, and how well versed in the software you are. It's all, I have people who have worked for Disney on these rigged 2D cutout projects join my library, regularly talk in the chat. He's not here today. His name is Mr. Leon. And he tells readily of his experiences of how companies like Disney and companies like Nickelodeon, who he did, I don't know who he did Ninja Turtles for, discourage him from drawing and animating properly. They just want him to cut corners. So I think he would probably give you a better idea of what they're looking for, because they're certainly not looking for strong work. They're looking for efficiency. I think we relate because of martial arts and ballet, and fundamentals are important. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I personally don't want to use AI because it's against my branding. I'm real animator training, and I don't want to use it. But I can see how AI can benefit many independent artists who can't afford to have background people, who can't afford to have color designers and things like that, but have an understanding of it. You could be your own studio head, and you can channel AI to be, because a lot of digital artists that get by with digital art before AI, they're practically AI operators. They don't know how real perspective works. They don't really understand 2 3 point. They just use cut and paste and brush tools and create this foggy, misty thing and these sharp atmospheric shapes, and there's your digital painting, and everybody thinks, wow. You know, those kind of people don't really know. If you know how to draw properly, you understand perspective and you understand color theory, but you can't do it all, AI is there for you. Me personally, I'd like to rely on real artists. That's my brand. But I don't see, I don't hate AI the way a lot of people are hating on AI. The reason a lot of those people are hating on AI is fear and exposure. Because somebody mentioned imposter syndrome earlier. They know they're imposters. They know they've been getting away with digital trickery and their fundamentals are weak. And everybody's eyes have become used to the digital trickery. And now the AI does one before they can even, by the time they've done one, AI has done over 100, maybe 1,000, right? So their fear is something that I don't even empathize with, because they have limitless potential. AI is limited by the library it's built it from. They have limitless potential to improve themselves and better themselves, but rather than doing that, they've chosen the option of hate. Hate that which exposes their truth. Thank you, Paul. I really appreciate, we really do resonate, because a lot of people don't consider me humble. I've been called arrogant, obnoxious, and all kinds of things. But I'm really happy that you and I resonate, because maybe you can understand my delivery a bit better than some of those people. But mind you, a lot of those people, when I created my brand Real Animator Training, a lot of those people didn't like me calling myself Real Animator Training. They thought, am I calling everybody else artificial? Now, a lot of those people, in fact, the great majority of those people that hated me and banned me from certain groups on Facebook, are now plastering the No AI logo with the Ghostbusters cross over the word AI on their profile pictures. So what's it to be, my friend? Real or fucking AI? Again, it is not, I don't even need to forgive these people because they do not know not what they do. It's merely I sympathize and empathize with those people because it was fear. Me being here and the things that I'm talking about and the things that I'm teaching and the things that I'm creating and the definitions and terms that I use just strike a sense of fear in them about their place and what their opinions are. So their only answer is hatred. I've done nothing but give. The amount of information I've given for free on YouTube, I've given free library memberships to young people who've shown a passion to hand-drawn animation. I've got free groups on Facebook where I willingly give detailed feedback to people some of who haven't even given me a penny. And I really appreciate hearing stuff like this from you, Paul, because while I say not to care about other people's opinions, that's one of the tests of this physical realm. And being called narcissistic, obnoxious, and arrogant, and all these things from people who do not see these things, the aspects that I do, even though I know the truth, it's out of ignorance and fear. It can weigh on one's nerves. But I'm not going to change my expression. I'm not going to change my expression. This has always been my brand, and I serve the people who enjoy and resonate with me. No, I have not done anything for Japanese studios. The Japanese design and animation appeals to me, but it has never really been something that I have been particularly inspired to work for. It's a very economical way of animating. They don't really push animation character animation far enough to have enticed me to get involved with their stuff, and their pay is very poor, and the things that they do that are very stronger than the West are the production design, the environments, the world building. These are the things that they are second to none at. Whereas Disney destroys them on character animation and movement, they destroy Disney on world building and production design. You just look at a film like Steam Boy and look at the environment, the design of Ray Steam's room, the thought of the things that are on the table on his desk, and those kind of images. That's what makes their films feel more cinematic and more quality. But the actual animation, from an animation point of view, is subpar, and at best is mediocre. So I've never really been interested in working on their stuff, but I love their designs, and their video game designs like Samurai Showdown, King of Fighters. If you look at the way I look, the way I do my hair, the way I fashion my clothes, I love anime styling. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite in some regards, but the technical craft of animation, even at their best, has never really impressed me. So, but I still love it. I still absolutely love it. It's just got a certain coolness to it, and I can totally understand why so many people are resonating with that. Okay, we are now going to end the live stream. Guilty Gear. The best thing about Guilty Gear was the rockin' soundtrack, man. Why do artists and animations don't collaborate when they are out of the jobs? Well, they can do, but the question is they're all worried about their money. My understanding of you has changed from this one live stream. I used to think you were egotistical, but now I understand that you are really about authenticity. Well, I appreciate that. It's taken you all this time. I mean, people thought this. Maybe it could be that one of my biggest role models in life, since I was 6 years old, my mother had me watching his films, was Bruce Lee. And a lot of people in the martial arts community hated him and thought he was egotistical. But he always preached authenticity and to just express yourself honestly. And that's all I've ever tried to do, and that's all I ever will do. And that's all I can do. Otherwise, I'll never be able to look myself in the eye when I shave or when I wash my face. Yep, I'm going to go and I'm going to eat. Quite right. So what are we going to do? We're going to end the live stream with the usual set. So for those who are about to draw, I salute you. Keep it real as ever. Do your work, not just your work and no more, but that little bit more for the lavishing's sake, that little bit that's worth all the rest. And if you doubt as you must, and if you suffer as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it and the skies will clear. Then from your very doubt and your very suffering will be born the supreme joy of life. Do your work, people, and as ever, to all you software monkeys out there, there's a little bit of that obnoxious nature. To all you software monkeys out there, paper is king. Okay, thank you very much. I will see you all on the next live stream. Bye-bye.